Have you ever written a message with all your heart, erased it, and then typed it again only to encounter silence? It's like shouting into the void in a crowded room. The silence seems louder than any rejection, and you start to question whether you said something wrong, whether you're not talented enough, and whether you should try harder. But here's the harsh truth. The further you run, the further they run. Running to get their attention not only confirms their power, but it also steals your honor, one message at a time. So why do we do it? Why do we feel the need to create silence? You're here because you're tired of feeling ignored and treated like an afterthought. The problem is that most people come to this situation in a state of desperation, thinking that explaining, justifying, or apologizing for their presence is the answer. But Stoicism teaches us one important lesson: control what you can and let go of what you can't. You can't make someone reply, but you can control how you react to their lack of interest. Today, I'm going to show you 6 strong ways to change the script. These aren't just tricks, they're real tools based on self-respect and emotional intelligence. When you use them, you won't just break the silence, you'll make them disappear. I want to be with you. Each step will force you to reclaim your worth, change the subject, and tell them that their attention is a gift, not a right. I promise that if you learn these techniques, you'll stop pleading for attention and start getting it without having to say a single word of desperation. Quiet power plays to people's natural desire to know more. This is about being the most powerful version of yourself, sure of yourself, and unforgettable. Are you ready to stop chasing and start attracting? Are you ready to reclaim your power? If so, keep reading, because what I'm about to share will change the way you deal with silence for good. Let's start with the most powerful response of all: saying nothing. Let the silence hurt you. The silent sting. Let your time be there. Have you ever noticed that silence is the loudest thing you can say? If someone ignores you, you might send them another text or ask them to explain. Ironically, chasing them makes them devalue you more. Imagine you're holding a handful of sand, and the tighter you grip it, the faster it slips through your fingers. In the same way, holding on to attention makes you seem less valuable. So what happens when you stop holding on? What happens when you just let go? That's where the power lies. When someone ignores you, they expect you to respond. They expect a follow-up message, an apology, or an emotional outburst. They expect you to fill the silence to reassure them of your interest. But when you meet their lack of interest with calm, deliberate silence, it forces them to confront something unexpected. The void you leave behind is not weakness or passivity. As the Stoics knew, being different from a wrongdoer is the best revenge. That's why, when they retreat, you don't pursue them. Instead, you retreat yourself, calmly and confidently, reminding them that their presence is optional and not guaranteed. Let me ask you something. If someone constantly ignores you, are they really worth your time? If you can lose their attention so easily, should you be trying to get it back? Silence forces them to contemplate these issues independently. You don't argue or provide explanations. Instead, you simply vanish, leaving them to ponder what transpired, why they aren't reaching out, and did I lose their interest? This is how the plan works in your mind. Usually people only recognize the value of something when it's no longer present. When you depart, your presence, your messages, your warmth, and your work leave an irreplaceable void. It's like turning off a light in a dark room. The lack of that glow is suddenly overwhelming, and they start to miss what they once didn't care about. This is where Stoicism comes in again. It's not a trick to get people to pay attention to you. Your silence shows what your limits are. You're not being quiet because you want them to chase you. You're being quiet because you refuse to ask for attention that isn't yours. Your silence says, I respect myself enough to walk away from what doesn't serve me. If you keep giving your energy to someone who doesn't value it, you'll be like a broken vase trying to hold water. No matter how much you give, it will leak out and leave you empty. But when you stop giving, the empty feeling is clear, and sometimes that's all they need to wake up. I know what you're thinking. No, being quiet won't make you seem cold or rude. It's actually a choice to match their energy. If they've pulled away, you step back. If they don't respond, you stop asking questions. Your actions, or lack of actions, will reflect their behavior back to them like a mirror. Here's where it gets powerful. Over time, they'll start to notice the silence and realize you haven't double-texted, checked in, or begged for answers. That realization will hurt more than anything you could say. They'll start to ask themselves, did I mess up? Why aren't they reaching out? What if I lost them? The silent sting is beautiful because it protects your pride. You're not lowering yourself to chase someone who isn't interested in you. Instead, you're showing them without words that your presence is a privilege. That kind of quiet confidence is magnetic. Yet you must accept their silence as an answer. If they don't notice your absence or don't return, that's your cue to move on. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we can't change. You can't make someone see your worth, but you can choose to honor yourself by walking away. Here's one last thought. What's stronger than pleading for attention? Let your departure demonstrate your worth to them. Silence answers and forces them to face their actions and the consequences of taking you for granted. So the next time someone ignores you, I challenge you. Don't chase them. Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't beg. Let the silence speak for itself. Not saying anything is sometimes the strongest statement. If this hits home for you, please leave a comment below. Silence speaks volumes. Let's take back our power together and remind the world that our worth doesn't depend on what other people say. Spark 2. The strategy of breadcrumbs. Spark, want to know, not desperation. Not desperation, but interest. Imagine sending a thoughtful, heartfelt message, but instead of getting a response, you get silence again. Your first instinct might be to fix it by sending another message to explain yourself or prove your worth, but stop and ask yourself why you feel the need to chase. What does doubling down on effort get you when someone has already chosen not to respond? The truth is that desperation is not attractive. It pushes people further away when you over-explain or send long, emotional paragraphs. It doesn't inspire connection. It makes you look predictable, hungry and simple to forget. Stoicism instructs us to maintain composure and determination in challenging situations. When faced with silence, you don't blow things up, you stay cool. Here's where the breadcrumb approach comes in. It's subtle, on purpose, and incredibly effective. Instead of sending them everything you think of, you drop just enough to get them interested. A breadcrumb doesn't ask for attention. It gives it. It piques people's curiosity, lingers in their minds, and most importantly, transforms the power dynamic. Changeable. Have you ever read a book and felt compelled to flip the page to find out the next event? That's the psychological pull you're creating when you use breadcrumbs in your messages. Imagine sending this instead of a desperate follow-up like, "Hey, why haven't you responded? I just thought of you at a particularly intriguing moment. Hold on, what does that message mean? It's not clear, it's open-ended, and they can't ignore it without at least thinking about why they thought of me at that time." All of a sudden, the energy shifts. You're no longer chasing them, and they're showing interest. Here is one more example. I noticed something that reminded me of you, but it's challenging to articulate the nature of this thought. It piques their curiosity, prompting them to think about you instead of you thinking about them. Because it's ingrained in our nature to complete what someone begins when they leave an unfinished sentence, a vague message, or an unanswered hint. Our thoughts instinctively fill in the gaps. That's how we're built. We seek answers, and leaving clues creates a subtle yet alluring path. Consider the phrase, the gap that draws them back toward you. I just learned something new about you today. Is that a compliment, a humorous comment, or a revelation? That's what makes it powerful. It's short, simple, and leaves nothing out. Leave a question to get their attention, not their attention. But here's the important thing. If they respond with a question such as, "What did you realize?" or "What reminded you of me at that time?" only then can you provide them with a carefully crafted answer. Instead of throwing all your feelings at them, answer short, light, and interesting. Plant seeds and let them grow. Stoicism teaches us that control starts with ourselves. You can't change how someone responds to your messages, but you can change what you send them. Breadcrumbs show confidence, self-control, and emotional intelligence. They let people know that you're interesting. You're not trying to get attention, you're creating it. Let me show you another picture to help you understand this approach. If you throw a net into the water and drag it aggressively, the fish will scatter, but if you drop a single well-placed hook, the fish will come to you on their own. That's what breadcrumbing is all about. It's subtle, patient, and irresistible. Now, I want to pose a question to you. Is it more effective to beg for a response or to leave them wondering what you're thinking? Your breadcrumbs show them that you're confident enough to let them come to you, not desperate. I need to talk about something important. Breadcrumbing is not about manipulating or tricking someone into responding, but rather about re-establishing genuine interest and the respect they may have forgotten to give you. When you send a breadcrumb message, you're saying, "I'm still here, but I'm not chasing you. My presence is worth wondering about." This approach alters both their and your perception, reminding you that your words, when used wisely, are sufficient, and your silence, when paired with the right tone, is powerful. Do something today. The next time someone ignores you, don't send that long emotional message. Instead, drop a breadcrumb. Keep it short, light, and interesting. Leave them wondering, and then wait. If they don't respond, you haven't lost anything. You've just increased your self-worth. This way, you'll know they responded because you earned it, not because you begged. If this strategy works for you, please like this video and leave a comment below with the words "Number 1." I want to know if you're ready to stop chasing and start using your words with precision and power. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss the next tips that will completely transform your ability to connect with others. This is just the start. When you know your worth, you don't have to beg for attention. People notice you. Don't be a statist. Take a different approach. Being unexpected is important. What transpires when you endure prolonged disregard? Do you start to sound like someone else? Do you consistently send follow-ups filled with the same hatred? Did you see my message over and over? When everything proceeds as planned, it becomes monotonous, leaving the other person with no incentive to interact or regain interest in you. If you think about it, that's why we love plot twists in movies and lean forward when something unexpected happens. It wakes us up, grabs our attention, and forces us to focus. The same applies when someone ignores you. If they believe they know what you're going to say next, you need to shift the topic. You need to surprise them. Pulling something out from under someone is not rude or manipulative. It's about sending messages that are bold, surprising, and meant to make them stop and think. When someone ignores you, you're no longer playing by their rules. You're reintroducing surprise. This message, "Don't worry about it," is only 4 words long, but it works like magic because it throws them off guard. Suddenly, they're not thinking about why they didn't reply. They're wondering, what did I miss? What were they going to say? You changed the situation so that they're the ones playing your words, not you. Consider this. Wow, I didn't expect that from you. This message is vague but powerful. It doesn't accuse or explain, but it sows the seeds of doubt, leaving them wondering, what did they expect? Did I do something wrong? What are they talking about? You've posed a question that only you can answer, and the best part is that the more curious they are, the more compelled they will feel to respond. Another excellent example. It is unfortunate that I will have to locate an alternative individual to develop this concept. You would have been an exceptional choice. What makes this so strong? It appeals to their sense of being left out and the missed opportunities. It's awful to feel left out or replaced. This message is light and even funny, but it has a subtle sting that wakes them up. Suddenly their attention shifts from ignoring you to questioning why they've fallen behind. This approach isn't about begging or pleading, it's about confidence. Your non-predictability and lack of waiting for their approval show them your worth. That kind of energy makes people sit up and pay attention. But here's the secret. Timing is everything. Avoid sending these messages immediately after ignoring someone. Sending a bold and unexpected message can have a greater impact as it awakens them and prompts them to reconsider their previous perceptions of you. Stoicism teaches us the value of being deliberate in our actions. You don't express frustration or insecurity. You take your time and act precisely. And when you pull the rug out from under them, it's a reminder that they can't take you for granted. That's the beauty of this strategy. It forces them to see you differently. Maybe they thought you'd always be there, always chasing, always predictable. But when you send a message that flips their expectations, you show them something new. You show them strength. You show them that you're not afraid to walk away from someone who treats you like an option. Imagine someone watching a movie and immediately losing interest when they know every plot twist, scene, and ending. But when the story suddenly surprises them, they lean in, pay attention, and start to wonder what happens next. That's the effect you're creating when you pull the rug. This isn't about being petty, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about saying, I'm not here to chase you. I'm here to remind you that I'm someone worth noticing. Now I want to challenge you. The next time someone ignores you, don't send the expected follow-up. Instead, choose one of these. Whatever. Wow, I didn't expect that from you. Keep it short and vague, and most importantly, don't describe yourself. Allow them to ponder, and their curiosity will lead them back to you. At this point, you may be wondering what to do if they still don't answer. That's where Stoicism comes in. Don't let it bother you. Don't let someone else's lack of interest affect you. Say what you're worth. You have shown confidence and unpredictability, and that's enough. You're not here to beg for attention. You're here to act in a way that shows you respect yourself. So, are you ready to stop being predictable? Want to change the script and prove you're not ignorable? If this message speaks to you, please like this video and leave a comment below saying that you're ready to embrace unpredictability and reclaim your power. Also, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button to continue learning these powerful tools to change the game in your favor. Remember, the most attractive people are the ones you can't quite figure out. They're sure they're unexpected, and when you start pulling the rug out from under them, that's exactly who you become. Someone they can't ignore, someone they can't stop thinking about. This is just the beginning. There's more to come, so don't go anywhere else. The hook they can't get off gets stuck in their mind. Have you ever experienced a song becoming stuck in your mind? You hear it once, maybe just a few notes, and then it won't go away, no matter how hard you try. That's the power of a hook. Imagine that your words could have the same effect. If a message could replay in their mind after they read it. Sometimes people ignore you because your message didn't make an impression, spark their interest, make them think, or stand out against the noise. That's where the message's hook comes in. The message is so intriguing and thought-provoking that people are compelled to respond. But let's first clarify a point. This isn't about being needy or wanting attention. It's about saying it out loud. Stoicism tells us to think things through and not respond too strongly instead of chasing someone down with boring follow-ups or desperate pleas. You use precise, well-chosen words that prompt them to reflect and feel compelled to respond. Here's how it works. Putting this message, I learned something new about you that really blows my mind. Read that again. What does it say? It plants a seed. It's not clear, but it's personal. It's both inquisitive and certain, prompting them to question what they've learned, whether it's beneficial or detrimental. How do they feel about me? If you say something like, "I can't believe I never noticed this about you before," they won't be able to shake it off because their brain needs closure. This line is tempting because it makes them wonder what they noticed. Is it something important? Why didn't I see this coming? While it's simple, it's full of emotional weight. Here is one more example. Have you ever wondered how you do the thing you're so good at? This message does two things at once. It gets them interested and compliments them in a subtle way. It makes them think about their strengths, what makes them special, and how you notice something about them. It brings their attention back to you in a way that doesn't feel desperate. The excellent thing about the hook is that it doesn't ask for attention. It gives it. It's not a matter of whether they'll answer. It's a matter of how long they'll wait before they finally ask, "What do you mean?" People are inherently curious about what's happening, and when you omit something, they are compelled to fill in the gaps. It's like starting a story and then leaving it unfinished. Their mind fills in the blanks trying to find the missing pieces. Step back and remember that words are powerful when used sparingly. Hook is small and powerful. If you talk too much, people will lose interest. If you talk too little, people will lose trust. It's important to say just enough to get them interested and let them think of what else to say. Let's get more specific. Connect your hook to something you know they care about. For example, if they love art, you could say, "I just saw a painting that reminded me of something you said, and it's crazy how accurate you were." This message works on many levels. It connects with their interests, it complements them subtly, it leaves them with an unfinished thought that they need to solve, and they'll wonder what picture I meant and what I said. What did I get right? Suddenly your text becomes a puzzle, and people enjoy solving puzzles, particularly those that pertain to their own lives. You must deliver the hook confidently to master it. Being confident means you're not anxiously waiting for them to reply. You just drop the hook and let it work its magic. Whether they respond immediately or hours later, your words linger in their minds like a song they can't stop humming. Which would you prefer? A desperate message that they ignore, or a single line that captivates their attention for hours? The choice is clear. When you use the hook, you're not just sending a message, you're making an impact. You're showing that you're thoughtful, interesting, and worth their attention. And here's the best part. The hook works even when you're not saying a word. Plant the thought in their mind so that it stays there. You already have their attention and don't need to take any further action. That is the power of carefully chosen words. So I want you to try this today instead of sending another cliched message. Make a hook. Keep it short, personal, and curious. Let it hang in the air and do the work for you, and then wait. Don't explain. Don't chase. Trust that your words are enough. And if you're still unsure, I'll remind you of this. People remember how you make them feel. A good hook makes them feel intrigued, special, and curious. It shifts the energy back to you, leaving them wondering why they ever let you slip into the background. If this strategy resonates with you, I want you to take action. Like this video and comment number 1 below. If you're prepared to craft messages that people can't ignore, I want to know that you're dedicated to enhancing your communication skills and taking control of the conversation. If you haven't yet subscribed to this guide, don't worry, there's more to come. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. When you master the art of the hook, you'll never need to seek attention again. Your words will linger, your presence will stand out, and they will be the ones pursuing you. Keep it cool, having faith in desperation. I'm curious to know how often you find yourself overthinking when someone ignores you. When do you need to explain yourself or send another message to get their attention? To tell the truth is desperate. There are more whispers than you perceive. As soon as you give up your power, you're no longer alive. The sure of themselves, grounded version of yourself. Although you are the one who desires attention, what if you could maintain your composure rather than reacting emotionally? Keeping your cool doesn't mean acting like you don't care. It means knowing your worth so well that you don't need anyone else to confirm it. Stoicism teaches this basic truth. You can't change how someone else acts, but you can change how you react. If you react with cool, collected confidence instead of panic, you send a clear message. I respect myself enough not to need attention. Imagine that someone hasn't answered your message in hours or even days. Rather than responding with a follow-up message such as, "Did you see my message?" or "Are you mad at me?" you send something completely unexpected. "I knew you'd be busy, so I'll see you later and tell you what happened here." You're recognizing what's going on without acting angry or upset. Be calm, confident and unaffected, to show them that their silence hasn't affected you and that you've moved on. And guess what? That confidence is magnetic. It makes them wonder why they aren't chasing them and why they are so calm about this. Did I miss something? Here's another line that effectively conveys the message. I wanted to tell you something interesting, but it can wait. This isn't passive-aggressive. It's pure confidence. You're subtly telling them you have something useful to say, but don't need their time quickly. Now that you've reversed the situation, they're pondering what they intended to express and why it doesn't appear urgent. Suddenly you're in charge of the conversation. Let me pause and ask you how your life would be different if you stopped chasing after things. How would it feel to walk around with the quiet confidence of someone who knows what they're worth? When you maintain your composure, you transform into an individual who doesn't require assistance or affirmation, asserting, "I am sufficient regardless of your perception." In actuality, people gravitate towards mentally stable individuals. Desperation repels them, while confidence attracts them when you can manage violence with composure. When you show detachment instead of panic, you send a message that is much stronger than words. I don't need to prove anything to you. I'm comfortable with who I am. Now let's talk about mirroring. Maintaining composure also entails matching their energy level without escalating into anger. If they take hours to reply, you don't have to respond instantly. You don't have to stay glued to your phone, waiting for their attention. You can delay your response, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. If they're taking their time, so can you. Remember that being too available sends the wrong message. People will think you don't value your own time, so why should they? Keeping your cool shows them that your life is full of activities and places to go, not just waiting for them to respond. That kind of energy is appealing because it's so rare. I think of it like this. Imagine you're at an auction. The more desperate someone appears to win an item, the higher the price becomes. But when you act calm, composed, and slightly detached, you communicate value without saying a word. You don't beg to be chosen because you know your worth. You let your calm confidence speak for itself. Now I want you to ask yourself, how many times have you lowered your standards to keep someone's attention? How often have you sent messages out of fear of losing someone who's already pulling away? Here's the hard truth: you cannot beg someone into valuing you. The more you chase, the more you confirm their indifference. But when you play it cool, you communicate something much stronger. I'm not here to convince you of my worth. That's your loss. To realize this isn't about being cold or aloof. It's about showing emotional maturity and strength. You don't have to make someone feel bad for ignoring you. You simply let your calm, confident response show that their silence doesn't control you. That's the kind of energy that makes people sit up and take notice. Here's something to try the next time someone ignores you. Instead of overthinking or overreacting, pause. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that their silence doesn't define you. Then send a message like, "No worries, I'll catch up with you another time." Short, light and confident. You're not explaining yourself or seeking their approval. You're walking away with grace, and that speaks volumes. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop reacting emotionally and start responding with confidence? Are you ready to stop proving your worth and start showing it? If this message resonates with you, I encourage you to take action, like this video, and leave a comment below expressing your readiness to embrace confidence and calm as your new power moves. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to stay updated on the next strategies that will completely transform the way you approach conversations. Laying it cool maintaining composure doesn't imply a lack of concern. Rather, it signifies a deep appreciation for yourself. When you uphold this value, others will find it difficult to ignore you. This isn't because you're demanding attention, but rather because your unwavering confidence makes you indisputable. Yet, the next step is even more powerful, and I promise you, you'll want to hear it. 6. Bring back the spark of memories. When you feel nostalgic, you should reconnect with people you used to know. When an old song plays, a scent wafts through the air, or you find a photo from years ago, you instantly feel transported back to a time when things seemed simpler, closer, or more alive. That's the power of nostalgia. It goes against logic and hits you right in the heart, bringing up feelings you didn't even know were there. Now, imagine using that same power to reconnect with someone who's grown distant. When someone ignores you, it's easy to feel as though the bond you once shared has disappeared. You begin to believe that they don't remember you, don't care, or worse, that you don't matter. But the truth is that people don't forget connections. They forget how they felt. Do not send attention-grabbing messages to remind someone of who you were and what you meant to them. Instead, send messages that tell them what you've already discussed. It's not begging or chasing. It's gently taking them back to a time when you were important, to a memory where the link was real and undeniable. Nostalgia doesn't challenge, it brings it on. I think that instead of texting to ask why you haven't replied or asking if everything is okay, you send something like, "I just remembered that time we got lost and found that little cafe. It was still one of the best days of my life." Why does this message bring back memories of that moment? It makes them remember the coffee. They can hear the laughter or feel the comfort of that shared experience. As an example, nostalgia paints the picture for them, leaving no room for defense or discomfort. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It just gives them the gift of remembering you, your relationship, and a better version of themselves. Something I observed today reminded me of you and the amusing statement you made at that party. It still makes me laugh. Why does this work? Because it's personal, it's specific, and it ties your message to a shared moment that meant something, no matter how small. It reminds them that there was joy between you, that there were moments they enjoyed simply being in your presence. Let me ask you, When was the last time you smiled at a memory? When was the last time someone brought up something about you that made you feel seen, remembered, and valued? That's what nostalgia does. It doesn't push, it pulls. It reopens the door to connection in the softest, most human way. Now you might be thinking, what if they don't respond? What if the memory doesn't matter to them? That's where Stoicism steps in. When you send a nostalgic message, you're not trying to control their response. You're not forcing them to engage. You're simply offering a moment of connection and leaving it up to them. You're saying, I remember this. It mattered to me. If it matters to them too, they'll respond. If it doesn't, you can walk away knowing that you stayed true to yourself, calm, confident, and kind. Here's something important to keep in mind. Nostalgia connects people to feelings they may have buried or forgotten. Maybe they've been distant because life got in the way, or maybe they've been ignoring you because they thought you didn't matter anymore. But when you remind them of a time you shared, you cut through all the noise. They don't argue or demand. You bring back a memory they can't ignore. Let's go a little deeper. Bring up a shared experience. They're not just remembering a moment. You're remembering a feeling like joy, laughter, excitement, or comfort. Nostalgia brings that feeling back to them, and it feels natural, not forced. For example, I just remembered how calm you were during that chaos at work, and I always admired that about you. That's not just nostalgia, it's appreciation. You're reminding them of their strengths, and a time when they felt seen and valued through your eyes. People forget their best qualities until someone brings them back to life. It's powerful that nostalgia reminds them of a version of themselves they enjoyed, not just you. Stoicism tells us to be honest, speak our truth, and let go of things we can't change. Sending a nostalgic message doesn't make them care. It does remind them of the past. It's a way to say, this was real, and I haven't forgotten. I challenge you to try this the next time you want to send a needy or defensive message. Pause and think of a time when you felt close to that person, whether it was something funny, important, or emotional. Write them a brief, thoughtful message, reminding them to maintain a light tone. Keep it real, and most importantly, don't base your worth on what they say. Consider the number of times you've forgotten the moments when someone remembered something about you and made you feel special. Gifting nostalgia shows you're thoughtful, confident, and grounded in yourself. You don't need to plead for their attention, as you are aware that the connection already exists. You're just holding up a mirror and asking, do you remember? If this hits home for you, I want you to like this video and leave a comment below with the words, Number 1. I want to know if you're ready to stop chasing and start making real human connections. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss the next tips that will completely transform the way you communicate with others when you're alone. Because here's the truth, nostalgia lasts forever. It makes people remember the best in you and them. When you learn to spark it with confidence, you'll no longer feel invisible. You'll tell them why you were unforgettable in the first place. 6. In conclusion, take charge of the silence and the connection. There are powerful ways to ensure that you are never forgotten again. We've learned that silence can be more powerful than words, that subtlety can spark interest, and that calm confidence can change the whole dynamic. Each step has brought you closer to reclaiming your power and changing how you connect with others. In order to prove your worth, you don't have to beg for attention or chase after people who have forgotten your worth. Instead, you should show up with confidence. Now that you have clarity and strength, when someone ignores you, you can act desperate or calm. Let their silence hurt you, or use it to show them how valuable they are, or walk away knowing you stood your ground and stayed true to yourself, which is self-respect. Stoicism teaches us that we can only control our own reactions to other people's actions. These strategies aim to make oneself unmistakable by leaving clues that intrigue, deceiving others, evoking nostalgia, and maintaining composure with unwavering confidence. I know my worth, and I won't settle for less. Let me leave you with this thought. The people who are worth your time and energy will notice your absence. They will feel the void when you stop chasing. And the people who aren't worth your time and energy will never deserve your presence in the first place. So I ask you one last time. Are you ready to stop begging for attention and start commanding it? Are you prepared to become a self-assured individual who understands their own worth and doesn't require pursuit? If so, please like this video and leave a comment below with the words, Number 1. Today I want you to take back your power and stop overthinking and over-explaining. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on more tools to help you master connection, confidence, and personal growth. Remember that being present is a privilege, and when you truly believe that, others can't help but believe it too. Stop chasing and start attracting. Watch as the right people lean in to meet you where you are. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I believe in you and the power of your words, actions, and presence. Now it's your turn to believe in yourself. You can do this. Let's keep growing together. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't give up, stay strong, and remember that the peace and quiet you have today will come back. Remember to echo tomorrow.